old people Friday. Hey, hey, old people Friday. Hey, hey, old people Friday. Hey, hey, old people Friday.
And sports kind of kept you on the straight and narrow.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, there was, you know, our coaches were on top. Hal Foster in football. But then in the spring, I played baseball with Nipper Clancy and Charlie Ruddick, and those guys kept a close tab.
Did you play with Tony C?
Yes. Tony was, I was 1 year ahead of Tony. So I played 3 years of high school baseball and football with Tony.
Did you always want to be a coach?
Yes.
Since you were young? Or
yeah.
How did you know?
Well, again, I go back to that story when you asked me how I grew up and everything, and I credit my coaches, I always have. I was a kid from West Lynn that, you know, I had my background. I never got in any trouble, but I hung around with some rough kids. And so my thought was I would like to go to college. I'd like to be a PE teacher because that's a nice job to have.
Sure.
But more importantly, to coach and maybe somewhere along the line help some, you know, help a kid out. Just help a kid in some different way. Started coaching actually in '65. I coached cross country because it was one of those, hey, you're the new kid on the block, take this job, no one else wants it.
Right,
you know?
right.
We can't find anybody, so I coached cross country.
How you worked your way up?
I coached gymnastics, boys gymnastics, and I also coached JV baseball my first 2 years, and then I became the varsity coach in '68, my third year.
How many years were you a varsity baseball coach?
Varsity 47, and I coached 49 years.
And how many wins do you have as a coach?
The win total is 736. In the previous New England record, the state record and New England record was 725.
So you got that beat by at least 10.
Yeah, a little bit. You know, and you know, that wasn't the motivation to continue coaching.
Right.
I was going to retire 3 years earlier, but I had a really good group of young kids. You feel really obligated to stay with them.
Right.
And I made my mind up. I would stay with this group till they were seniors, which is what I did. In the meantime, in the course of those 3 years, I think the team record, I'm pretty sure it was something like 61-19 or 18 with a state title.
Wow.
And 2 sectional championships and everything. So it was like kind of a good way to end.
Wow.
You know, really kind of like on top, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure.
About 1980, 81, so I started a baseball camp. It was the very first in Eastern Massachusetts. And from that original camp of 30 kids, it grew to one summer I had over 300 kids attended. Not in 1 week. I always wanted a quality camp, so I would restrict the number of kids that have to come the second, third, or fourth week. But the dungeon, as everybody referred to it, was simply underneath my school. I was one day down there rummaging around. It's the actual foundation. It was all dirt, big, huge cement pillars that supported the school. And I had the vision of building an infield down there. Well, that was not reasonable because the ground was a lot of rocks. And it was not good. The next thing was a batting cage. I started with a little cage and then ended up with 2 or 3 full-length cages, pitching mound, 10 or 12 hitting stations. And in the early 80s, the only place the Red Sox could work out indoors was at my facility. So I had guys from the Red Sox coming in, Walter Riniak, who used to work, he worked with Dewey Evans.
Hitting coach.
Yeah, and Bill Buckner, but guys like Mike Pagalulo, he would come there all the time. Gary DiSarcino, who was with the Sox.
Sure.
Kenny Hill.
Yeah, right. Lynn Kidd.
Jeff Juden. All these guys went on to major league careers, but that was where they all worked out. And then the best part was I would let them come up into my gym class and play floor hockey against my classes. I swear, in the 4 or 5 years that same crew of guys came, they never lost a game to a gym class, ever.